The night sky was black glass, cracked by the glow of distant explosions. Inside the command tent, the hum of generators fought against the desert wind, and the air smelled of metal, sweat, and paper, the scent of decisions that couldn't be undone. Colonel David Mercer stood over the map table. His shadow stretched long across the floor. Dozens of blinking markers pulsed on the digital display, each one representing men who trusted him to bring them home. He didn't blink, didn't breathe, just watched. The radio hissed. Alpha 6 to command, awaiting green light. Mercer glanced at the live drone feed, thermal images flickering in grayscale. The target compound looked quiet. Too quiet. Intelligence had confirmed enemy presence inside high-value personnel. But the silence nodded him. He leaned closer to the screen, eyes narrowing. In the corner of the frame, a flicker, a figure, a small, fast-moving. Could have been a stray dog. Could have been something else, Colonel. His aide prompted. Sir, the window closes in 40 seconds. Mercer's jaw tightened. He could feel the weight pressing down, the kind only commanders understand. Every second he delayed could mean losing the target. Every second he rushed could mean something worse. He raised the radio to his mouth. Alpha 6 standby. Hold position. Static. Confusion on the other end. The aide looked at him like he'd lost his nerve. Then Mercer saw it through the drone's shaky lens. A child, maybe 7 years old, running from the back of the compound, barefoot, clutching something wrapped in cloth. He didn't think. He knew. Abort mission, he said, voice low but absolute. Repeat, abort. Do not engage. The command tent fell silent. You could hear hearts beating harder than the generators. Moments later the feed lit up. Explosions, but not theirs. The compound detonated from within, a chain reaction of hidden munitions. The blast rocked the tent. Papers flew. The radio screamed out, then silence again. The intelligence officer turned pale. Sir, if we'd gone in 30 seconds earlier. Mercer didn't answer. He just stared at the smoking crater on the screen. Somewhere in that fire was the child, gone before she ever reached safety. He set the radio down. War doesn't forgive hesitation, he muttered. But sometimes, neither does conscience. Outside, the horizon glowed orange, dawn or fire. No one could tell. Inside the tent, Mercer stood alone, surrounded by maps, radios, and ghosts. The tent was quiet now. Just the slow buzz of the radio and the rattle of wind against canvas. Mercer didn't move. His eyes stayed locked on the smoldering feed. The child's small form still haunting the edges of the explosion's light. He'd been here before, too many times. Not in this desert, not with this war, but with that same sinking weight in his gut. 15 years earlier, he was a captain in another country, another conflict. The jungle instead of sand, rain instead of dust. He remembered the first time someone called him sir, how proud it made him feel. How quickly that pride turned into something else. Back then, he still believed that orders were clean, that right and wrong could be measured in coordinates. It was supposed to be a simple a recon sweep through a village marked as hostile territory. Intel said insurgents were using local huts to move weapons. He had 12 men under his command, young, sharp, loyal. When they reached the outskirts, the rain had turned the ground into red mud. The huts were quiet, doors half open, smoke curling from small fires. It looked too still, too easy. You sure this is the right grid? His sergeant had asked. It's what command sent, Mercer replied. They moved in. He could still remember the sound, boots squelching in the mud, the hum of mosquitoes, the faint laughter of children echoing from somewhere. Then the shot rang out. Chaos. Screams. 2 men down before they even saw where it came from. Mercer ordered a perimeter, return fire, but the jungle didn't care. It swallowed sound, light, and reason. The firefight was a blur of panic. Then command crackled through the radio. Captain Mercer, initiate fire support, call it in. He hesitated. Sir, we've got civilians. That's not your concern. Execute the order. He looked around. Half his team pinned down, one bleeding out, the other screaming for help. He called a strike. The artillery came fast, thunder rolling through the trees, fire raining down. When it stopped, the jungle was silent again. But it wasn't victory. It was ash. They found insurgents. Yes, 3 of them, but they also found a dozen civilians. A woman clutching a child in her arms, both gone. The report called it acceptable collateral damage. Mercer called it the day his soul learned the cost of obedience. That night, he sat under a broken roof while rain poured through the holes, his hands still shaking. His mentor, Colonel Reyes, found him there, silent, staring at nothing. You did what you were told, Reyes said quietly. Then why does it feel like I didn't? Mercer asked. Reyes looked at him with tired eyes. Because command isn't about giving orders. It's about surviving the ones you have to. That line stuck with Mercer for years. It became the one truth no manual could teach. Now 15 years later, as Colonel Mercer stared at another map and another ghost, he whispered it again like a prayer or a curse. Survive the order. But deep down, he knew he wasn't sure he still could. 3 days later, the desert heat felt heavier than usual, like the air itself was judging him. The camp was quiet. Too quiet. Soldiers avoided eye contact as Mercer passed, pretending to check gear or adjust rifles. They'd all seen the feed. They knew he'd aborted the strike in the official report. Command had written it up as tactical hesitation. In the barracks, they called it Mercer's ghost. He didn't care about the whispers. What haunted him wasn't the label, it was the moment, that split second before he'd set abort, when instinct screamed one thing and training screamed another. He'd felt this tension before, the pull between protocol and gut, but this time it wasn't theory, it was a second chance to do things differently. That evening, he sat in the operations center, staring at the new objective, Village Kilo 7, a suspected insurgent cache site. Intelligence suggested the presence of heavy munitions and a foreign advisor, a man known only as the engineer. The mission was simple on paper. Drone confirmation gives ground, insertion gives surgical extraction. Simple, clean, controlled, but Mercer had learned there's no such thing as clean in war. His second in Major Fields leaned over the monitor. Sir, confirmation from Drone 2. We've got heat signatures in the north sector. Movement looks organized. Could be our guy. Mercer nodded slowly. Pattern. 12, maybe 15. No civvies visible. That word visible always lingered like poison. We'll send a recon team first, Mercer decided. No strikes until positive ID. Fields frowned. Sir, if we wait, we lose the window. HQ wants the green light now. Mercer's voice dropped, cold and controlled. HQ can wait. Lives can't. Fields hesitated, then relayed the order. Minutes passed. Then the recon team radioed in, whispering through static. Command, this is Wolf 3. Visual on the compound. Confirm multiple armed targets. But the voice cut off. Gunfire, screams, then silence. Mercer froze. Wolf 3 report. Do you copy? Static a second later. The drone feed flickered, muzzle flashes lighting the screen. The squad was ambushed. Fields slammed his headset. We're losing them. Mercer's heartbeat slowed, not out of calm, but clarity. That cold clarity commanders find when the world burns around them. He scanned the feed, noted the movement, the muzzle flash patterns, the terrain. Then he saw it. A glint, a rifle reflecting light. Positioned from a rooftop overlooking the team's extraction. Route 1, sniper, one shot could end the team's chance of survival. Switch to thermal. Mark grid. Charlie 27, the screen adjusted. The sniper glowed red, a human shape against the roof's black authorization. The drone operator asked. Mercer hesitated. 1 heartbeat. 2. If he gave the order, they'd fire. If he waited, the sniper might move, might shoot, maybe a soldier, maybe a civilian. His hand hovered over the mic, and then he saw something he didn't expect. The sniper turned, and a scarf slipped loose from the helmet. Long hair caught the light. A woman. His stomach twisted. Not because she was female, but because he knew that face. It was the same child he'd seen on the drone feed years ago. Now grown, eyes hard, holding a rifle aimed at his men. Sir, Fields demanded. Do we take the shot? Mercer's voice broke through the static, low and hollow. Negative. Hold fire. Everyone in the room froze. He leaned toward the monitor, eyes locked on her. I want her alive. The operations center was silent except for the buzz of the monitors. Every eye was on the feed on her. The young sniper moved like smoke, calculated, disciplined, not the flinch of a recruit or the hesitation of panic. Whoever she was, she'd been trained. Mercer leaned closer. His reflection wavered against the screen, older, colder, watching a ghost come to life. Zoom in, he ordered quietly. The operator adjusted. The image sharpened. High cheekbones, streaks of sand and sweat, eyes that burned with a mix of fury and focus. The camera caught her face just long enough for Mercer's chest to tighten. Sir, Major Fields whispered. Who the hell is she? Mercer didn't answer. He couldn't, because somewhere in that face was the memory of the little girl, running barefoot through the smoke all those years ago, the one clutching a cloth bundle right before the explosion, consumed her home. But that was impossible, wasn't it? The drone feed flickered again, shifting as the sniper adjusted her scope. Her crosshairs locked directly on the ridge right where his recon team was pinned down. Sir, we have to take the shot. Fields barked. No, Mercer said. She's lining them up. I said no. The air crackled with tension. Then the sniper fired. For half a second, the entire command center froze, waiting for the impact, but the bullet didn't hit any of his men. It struck the wall behind them, shattering the rock above a hidden enemy position. 2 insurgents fell. That ambush was over. What the Fields muttered. She saved them, one of the analysts whispered. Mercer exhaled, his pulse thundering. On screen, the sniper holstered her rifle, turned toward the drone camera, and unbelievably raised her hand in salute. Then the feed went black. Hours later, the desert wind howled across the base. The operation was listed as partial success. The ambush was neutralized, but the sniper had vanished. Mercer sat alone in his tent, staring at the frozen frame, her face just before the feed cut out. He couldn't shake it. That look wasn't anger. It was recognition. The door flap rustled. Sergeant Hall, the communications officer, stepped in. Sir, you should see this. He handed over a headset. The radio crackled a faint signal, encrypted, weak. This is Reaper. Repeat. This is Reaper. Mercer stiffened. That call sign hadn't been used in years, not since his mentor, Colonel Reyes, disappeared during a covert mission. Identify, Mercer demanded. Can't confirm voice yet, Sir Hall replied. But it's coming from 20 clicks north, same sector as the sniper. Mercer's jaw locked. Coincidence didn't exist out here. He switched channels. This is command. Reaper, identify yourself. A pause. Then the voice returned calm, steady, unmistakably female. You left me behind once, Commander. Mercer froze. His throat went dry. Now it's my turn to finish what you started. The signal cut. Static filled the tent. Hall's voice was barely a whisper. Sir, what does that mean? Mercer didn't answer. He just stared into the static, every old scar on his soul aching again. It means, he said finally, the ghosts aren't done with us yet. By the time the sun bled over the horizon, the desert base was already alive with engines in tension. The mysterious transmission had shaken everyone except Mercer. He was silent, methodical, like a man replaying an old nightmare that had finally come true. He'd barely slept. The voice kept echoing in his head. You left me behind once, Commander. He knew that voice, not from a file, not from a briefing, but from the war that had nearly ended his career. Years ago, before he became the iron-willed commander everyone feared, he had led Operation Daggerfall, a secret strike deep in enemy territory. The mission was supposed to be simple: extract civilians, neutralize insurgents, and pull out, but the operation had gone wrong from the first minute. An informant betrayed them. The convoy was ambushed, and in the chaos, Mercer made a call, one that haunted him to this day. He ordered the airstrike. There were still people inside the village, including a small child who'd been calling for her father, clutching a comms device that had accidentally connected to their secure frequency. Please, the child had cried. They said help is coming, and then the sky fell. The report said minimal collateral damage. The promotion that followed buried the guilt, but Mercer never forgot the scream that cut through the static before the explosion. He just never expected to hear that voice again years later, through encrypted channels now. As he stood before the operations map, Major Fields entered the tent, tablet in hand. Sir, we got a visual. Same sniper. She's operating near the ridge again. Same sector. Whoever she is, she's not running. No, Mercer said quietly. She's waiting. Fields frowned. Waiting for what? Mercer didn't answer. He turned, staring out across the shimmering horizon. Somewhere out there was a soldier trained, efficient, impossible to track who had just called herself Reaper. But that name wasn't random. Colonel Reyes, his old mentor, had used that same call sign on that. Reyes was presumed dead, along with his daughter. And then the memory hit him like shrapnel. Reyes had kept a photograph tucked into his field notebook. A little girl, no more than 7, smiling with her arm around his neck. Her name was Lena Reyes. Mercer's voice was low. She's not the enemy, he said. She's what we made her. Fields blinked. Sir, what do you mean? Mercer handed him the file, one that had been locked for years under his clearance level only. Inside were fragments of reports, half-erased transcripts, and a burned image of a small child among the ruins. That girl survived the strike, Mercer said, and we never found her. Fields exhaled slowly. And now she's Reaper. Now, Mercer said grimly. She's coming for answers. At dawn, the base radar picked up movement. A single figure on foot, walking directly toward the perimeter. Unarmed, deliberate. The guards raised their rifles. The tower spotlights locked on hold fire. Mercer ordered. Through the dust. The figure kept walking until the wind cleared enough for him to see her face. The same face from the drone feed. The same eyes that had once looked up at him through smoke. Lena Reyes. He stepped forward, his voice barely above a whisper. Lena. Her response was quiet but sharp as a blade. You remember? Mercer nodded slowly. I never forgot. Then you'll understand why I'm here. The silence between them was heavier than gunfire. I didn't come to kill you, Commander, she said. I came to make you listen. The command tent was silent except for the hum of the generator. Outside, the desert wind howled through the wires, rattling the canvas like a heartbeat too loud to ignore. Mercer stood across from Lena Reyes, the woman once written off as collateral damage, the ghost who'd haunted his conscience and now stood breathing in front of him. She looked nothing like the reports. Dust streaked her uniform, her rifle slung low, an old patch on her shoulder that no one used anymore, the insignia of Reaper Unit, a classified ghost squad dissolved after Daggerfall, and yet, she wore it proudly. You shouldn't have come here, Mercer said quietly. This base isn't safe for you. I've been living in danger since the day you dropped hell on my family, she replied, her tone flat, almost cold. You're not the one I came to see. She pulled a small battered drive from her pocket and slid it across the table. Mercer stared at it, his pulse quickening. The markings Black Eagle Command were unmistakable. That was his operation seal. Where did you get this? From your own men, she said, or what was left of them. He plugged it into the secure console, and the screen flickered to life. Files began to load, mission reports, encrypted messages, and classified orders with his name on them. But not just his. There were signatures of 3 high-ranking generals, the same ones who'd buried the truth about Daggerfall. One of the files opened automatically, a live transmission from the night of the strike. Civilian presence confirmed. Sir, orders proceed. Collateral acceptable. The target is worth it. The voice wasn't Mercer's, it was General Harkins, his superior at the time, but Mercer's own voice followed a moment later, hesitant. Younger sir. There are children down there. You have your orders, Commander. Do it then. The sound of rockets. Then silence. Lena's eyes didn't move from his face. You followed those orders. You killed my father. You burned our village. And then you built your career on the lie that it was necessary. Her words landed like blows, but Mercer didn't flinch. His jaw tightened. His eyes burned. I was a soldier, he said. I followed command. So did I, she said, stepping closer, until I learned what it costs. She reached into her vest and pulled out another item, a small dog tag, bent and blackened. She tossed it on the table. The engraving still showed through the soot rays. Columbia Daniel Reaper. Sido. Mercer swallowed hard. His old mentor, her father. He tried to stop the strike, Lena said. He refused to give coordinates. So command locked him out and marked him a traitor. Then they used your signature to authorize the final wave. Mercer's breath caught. That's not possible. It is. It's all in that drive. The tent door suddenly burst open. Fields stumbled and pale-faced. Sir, command's on the line. They know she's here. Mercer turned back to Lena. If I don't hand you over, they'll do what they always do. She cut in. Erase it. Erase me. Erase you. You know it. He stared at her, the child he'd failed, the soldier she'd become, and the truth standing between them. Then what do you want from me? He asked. Lena took a breath. Not revenge, she said. A choice. She leaned closer, voice steady. You can hand me over, keep your rank, your record, your spotless legacy, or you can stand with me and expose them all. Outside, the wind screamed through the desert, carrying with it the weight of everything unsaid. Mercer's hand hovered over the console, one button to erase the data, one to transmit it to the world. His reflection stared back from the flickering screen for the first time in years. The commander didn't see a soldier. He saw the man who'd buried the truth to survive. And maybe it was time to stop surviving. He pressed the button. The data upload began. The alarm sirens wailed. Across the base, Lena didn't move, just watched him, a faint, broken smile crossing her face. Took you long enough. Commander. Mercer met her gaze. Name's not Commander, he said quietly. It's Daniel Mercer, and this is where it ends.